Once upon a time, on a morning at the Chin family company, we meet the recently fired Lianchu, the protagonist of this story, who complains to the bespectacled man who fired him. Furthermore, he had just worked overtime for 3 months, and the bespectacled man had promised him a raise. However, the man tells him that it was all a trap to make him sign illegal documents, and now they can blame him. Lian accuses him of stealing all the money, but the man says he has no evidence and orders his bodyguards to escort him out of the building. Lian tries to resist being expelled while insulting the man, so the man hits him with a strong blow that sends him crashing into the wall. The man introduces us to the power of Reiki that only the rich can afford to learn. At this point, the protagonist stands up and declares that one day he will become the governor of Dragon City, and when that happens, he will buy the company and fire him. At that moment, a girl with her group of bodyguards enters the elevator and tells Lian that he doesn't need to wait for that day, granting him permission to fire the man. At this moment, we are introduced to that beautiful girl as Chen Mo, the daughter of the Shin family and Lin's ex-girlfriend. She impresses several guys with her beauty. The bespectacled man tries to approach her, but she ignores him and tells him that he's fired. The man asks her for the reason, and she says it's because he bothered her future husband and future son-in-law of her family. Chen Mo approaches the protagonist provocatively and apologizes for breaking up with him, asking him to come back and celebrate their wedding. The protagonist asks if she still likes him, but she says it's not just his body that she likes. On their wedding night, the protagonist tries to process everything that happened, not understanding why his ex sought him out in that manner after 3 years. Suddenly, the girl is entering through the door, and the protagonist promises to make her happy. However, Chen Mo interrupts with disdain, throwing a wad of bills in his face, saying that all of this is just a show and that she'll give him more money if he wants. The protagonist complains about this, but Chen Mo unleashes a wave of power that sends him flying, telling him she will never forgive him for deceiving her. However, the protagonist doesn't understand what she's saying and goes back home devastated, thinking about what had happened. When he arrives at his apartment, he finds a white-haired girl inside who says, "Love." The protagonist doesn't know her and asks her how she entered his apartment. She tells him that she is his lover from their past life. The protagonist, captivated by her beauty, thinks she is crazy, and she suggests doing things together. Desperate, the protagonist tries to escape, but she closes the door and reminds him that they practiced double cultivation in their past lives. Without further explanation, she kisses the protagonist, surrounded by a mystical light that extracts Ling's soul from his body and elevates it to the sky, where he gains the knowledge of 10,000 people, attaining maximum enlightenment but ultimately dying upon returning to his body. During Ling's wake, people offer their condolences when suddenly a beam of lilac light strikes the protagonist's coffin, returning him to life, astonishing the mourners. The protagonist's father-in-law is thrilled to see him and declares his happiness in choosing him as his son-in-law. Trying to avoid questions, the protagonist claims not to understand how he slept for so long. The father-in-law instructs his servant to take him to his room. As the protagonist leaves, the father-in-law wonders if this is the legendary original body. Danny mentions a lost deal that seems to have been reversed, and H appears very upset because she feels that the marriage is just a business arrangement orchestrated by her father. Later, the protagonist was sitting at the table, contemplating how the accumulated knowledge he gained from others allowed him to analyze his surroundings in much greater detail. At that moment, the maidservants entered and brought him food. The maid with pink hair mentioned that it was a gift from the master to help him recover quickly. The protagonist started eating ravenously, displeasing the maid who couldn't understand why Kimo chose him as her husband. The protagonist, who now analyzed people, responded that he also didn't know why he was chosen, surprising the maid as he read her mind at that moment when she was with the protagonist's father-in-law, an elderly man. He instructed his maid to serve a drink to the protagonist, and she obeyed while telling him to eat more slowly. However, he mocked her, irritating the girl, although she managed to control herself. Meanwhile, the elderly man approached the protagonist from behind, attempting to touch his arm, impressed by the aura emanating from him. The protagonist noticed and swiftly removed the man's hand. The old man secretly spoke to the protagonist's father-in-law, asking if there had been an accident, to which the father-in-law replied that the protagonist had been in a coma. The protagonist utilized one of his acquired abilities and managed to read their lips. Additionally, the old man mentioned that the protagonist possessed a tremendous spiritual power, which was bestowed upon him by someone, but it had destroyed the abilities of the young master with the virgin body, Dan. The father-in-law is concerned about the plan he had. Moreover, the old man reiterates that his abilities in his own body were destroyed and that he is now worthless. Upon hearing this, the father-in-law does not hesitate to attack the protagonist, leaving him confused. He then grabs him by the neck, saying he is going to kill him, but the protagonist grabs his hand and tells him to stop, revealing that he knows he was used to take over his body. The old man is surprised that the protagonist knew about his original abilities and body. Danny asks him how he lost them, but the protagonist merely mocks and says that he is no longer a virgin. The father-in-law refutes the theory, stating that Chen had not slept with him and orders his guards to arrest him, but the protagonist says he is leaving. The maid, happy, thinks that Chen Mo will now be able to find someone better. However, the protagonist uses an ability to hypnotize the maid, making her go look for chemo. The protagonist asks his father-in-law if he forced her to marry him solely for his body, and the father-in-law admits to it, making the protagonist understand that his body was so important even above his daughter's happiness. The father-in-law begins to talk about how powerful Riki is and sadly admits that he can no longer increase his power because his body is not useful for cultivation. However, the protagonist can help him increase his power in a short time by using double cultivation. But since the protagonist doesn't understand this, he considers himself useless and plans to send him to Africa to dig for the rest of his life. The protagonist tells him to think about his daughter, but the father-in-law says that she can find another husband. The protagonist asks if he had invented Chemo, who had been unfaithful to him, but the father-in-law denies it and claims to have witnessed it. However, the protagonist doesn't remember that, so he tries to use his boxing power to free himself from the guards, but it's futile because his body is incapable of doing so. At that moment, Chemo arrives and orders the guards to stop the protagonist, but he is ignored as he believes she has come to help. The father-in-law just laughs and orders the guards to take them away, but Chemo prevents them from doing so, revealing that the protagonist is her husband. The father tries to persuade her to leave him, saying they will find her a less useless husband later on. However, she rebels and declares that she would rather have the protagonist as a dog before that happens, causing her father to admit defeat. Later, in Chen Mo's room, she praises the intelligence the protagonist had to use to save himself. The protagonist says that he only used the maid so that Chen wouldn't know that he didn't force her to marry him. However, Chen Mo gets angry and tells him that he wasn't so smart before. She says that he had changed a lot after their wedding night and asks him what happened to him. The protagonist analyzes the situation and tells her what happened, saying that a woman with white hair kissed him and injected him with a large amount of spiritual power ammunition. She believes him and tells him that it was surely one of his lovers. The protagonist, puzzled, asks her what he had done to earn her hatred, to which Chen Mo tells him that she had seen him with 4 exotic women in a hotel. The protagonist denies having been in any hotel, but Chen Mo insists that she saw it with her own eyes, signaling for the maid to enter, who is carrying a pile of clothes, and says, now he will take care of the household chores, and if he refuses, he will be fired. The protagonist agrees and, using his skills, quickly finishes washing the clothes. Then he moves on to cooking, but the maid criticizes his cutting skills, saying the slices are too thin. The protagonist thinks about making her pay for mocking him. Later, we see him going back to do laundry. On site, he overhears his father-in-law talking to Chen Mo about a Las Vegas casino where they have millions of counterfeit bills, blaming Chen Mo because she recommended the manager. Then she says she will solve it and pay for the losses. Her father asks what she will do now that the police are offering a reward for the counterfeiters. The protagonist, who was listening, searches his memories and recalls the skills of a counterfeiter. Tossing the laundry basket aside, our protagonist questions why he was there when he could make easy and fast money as a counterfeiter. That night, they arrive at a warehouse owned by the Chen family, where we see the protagonist planning to use it as a base of operations. While browsing the internet, he enters a place called Dark Whip, where he searches for a machine to make counterfeit money. He prepares to do business, but first changes his appearance and uses his stylist skills to design a suit for himself. Later, he approaches a man inquiring about the money machine. The protagonist shows the machine to the seller and tells him to pay the agreed 5 million. However, the protagonist says he only has 100. The seller gets angry and grabs him by the collar. But the protagonist claims that the bill is special because he made it himself. The seller is surprised to see such a realistically fake bill, so the protagonist tells them that their fake bills have flaws and are inferior to those of their competition. The seller agrees and asks about the protagonist's plan, to which the protagonist proceeds to explain that a meticulously crafted bill can pass as a real one, asking for some time to prove it. The seller agrees to the proposition. The protagonist begins to use their skill and later wakes up the seller to show them what they had done. The seller can't believe they made 5 million in such a short time and is amazed at how identical the bills are to the real ones. After the event, the seller asks the protagonist for their name, and they tell them to call them Mr. Gwari. Then we are shown a group of experts in counterfeit bills, where a guy wearing a hat receives a sample of a bill. The guy tells his brother that this is a real bill, but the brother mentions that it was made by the seller who was with the protagonist. The guy in the hat can't believe it because they themselves caused their business to fail, so the brother mentions that they saw the seller leaving with a large amount of money along with someone named Mr. Gwari. He tells his brother to hire him, but the brother responds that he had already tried, and we see a flashback of the protagonist being arrogant about their skill. As a result of this, we see that the expert kidnaps the protagonist in an attempt to force him to work for him. However, the protagonist ignores everything they say and uses their soil analysis skills to figure out their whereabouts. The expert from the gang realizes that the protagonist isn't paying attention and asks if he made the money. The protagonist says yes while trying to cut the ropes with a razor blade. The expert asks the protagonist if he wants to work for them. The protagonist refuses but expresses a desire to be their partner. Annoyed, the expert threatens to kill him, but the protagonist explains that doing so would cause the expert to lose his ability and he wouldn't be able to help them achieve their dreams. This leaves the expert confused. The protagonist then uses a memory of a speaker to state that his dream is to create counterfeit bills so realistic that they replace the real ones, ultimately generating immense wealth. The protagonist pushes the expert's hand away and tells him that he has the talent while they have the team and labor, promising to produce 100 million yuan daily. The expert is skeptical because not even all the machines can accomplish that. The protagonist then asks for 51% of the shares and a deposit of 10 million. The expert's brother complains, but the expert agrees, as long as the protagonist allows him and his team to participate in the production process, closing the deal. But we see that he plans to learn the protagonist's skill and then kill him. Meanwhile, the protagonist plans to trap them once he recovers the 10 million stolen from the Chen family the next morning. Chen Mo asks if the lost amount has been recovered, but his maid says it is very difficult to recover such a large sum of money in a short time. Therefore, she suggests seeking help. While the bespectacled man who initially fired the protagonist arrives offering help, Chen Mo rejects him since she fired him and distrusts his intentions. However, he professes his love for her and offers 10 million, promising to help only if she divorces our protagonist and mentioning what the protagonist did in the hotel with the 4 girls. Chen Mo rejects him, and the protagonist arrives, pushes him away, and tells him that they don't need his help. He says that the 10 million will possibly appear out of nowhere, while the man mocks him, saying that it's impossible for money to magically appear. Suddenly, the person from whom the protagonist went to buy the money-making machine enters the scene and throws a wallet with 10 million from a certain individual named Mr. Gwari. Chen Mo mentions not knowing him. Nevertheless, the man tells her that it's a gesture of goodwill and informs her that if she wants to meet him, she should go to room 1766 of the Dorset Hotel, the same room where she found her husband being unfaithful. The man with glasses is determined to find out who that person was and how he knows about that room. He has a hunch that the protagonist has something to do with it. Chen Mo arrives at the hotel and is followed by the guy with glasses. She is also curious about this guy. Chen Mo walks until she reaches the room, wondering about the reason for the meeting. To her surprise, she finds the protagonist playing with a couple of girls on the bed. Chen Mo is obviously upset, but a voice from the screen claims it's a misunderstanding. However, she can't control her anger, but the person on the bed removes their mask, revealing that they are not the protagonist. They explain that the same trick was used 3 years ago to ruin their relationship, making Chen Mo feel guilty for not believing in the protagonist. Chen Mo then asks why they are helping her. The protagonist, disguised as Mr. Wei, uses the excuse that her husband had saved him, even though they had never met, and this was a way to repay the favor. So Chen Mo asks who deceived her 3 years ago. Right at that moment, the guy with glasses enters boldly and, to everyone's surprise, the protagonist mentions that he was the same guy who had just entered. The guy starts saying that his wife will not be captivated by the money he offers. The protagonist mocks him because she is not married to him, mentioning that all he wants is to provoke their divorce. At that moment, the girls in the room pounce on the guy with glasses, recognizing him as a wonderful client who had ordered the VIP service exactly 3 years ago. The protagonist had hacked the hotel's computer to obtain some of that information. Then, Chen Mo asks Mr. Wei for a way to return the money, but the protagonist refuses and asks him to just be kind to her husband. In the evening, when the protagonist had finished the household chores and was about to leave with his partners, Chen Mo stops him and tells him that they can now sleep in the same room, but that's where this video ends. In the previous chapter we met a very special boy, Lin, but he doesn't know it. He has conspired to benefit from his body, demanding that he marry the daughter of the most powerful and strange family in Dragon City. On his wedding day, he leaves his wife and returns to his apartment. But then he meets a mysterious girl who kisses him and imparts knowledge of 10,000 souls with his newfound power. Lin joins the mafia to become a millionaire and to take revenge on those who have wronged him. Along the way, however, he encounters powerful individuals who seem to possess special powers. The second part of the story begins one morning when Lin is cleaning and sees a pink-haired maid talking on the phone. Using lip-reading skills, he discovers that the maid is having financial problems and plans to gain her trust. Later, we witness him formulating a type of chemical formula. At that moment, his partner enters and instructs the hero to transfer 200,000 yen to a certain account. He is impressed with the amount of money that is generously given to him. The protagonist responds that what is to come is most important and that he needs his help. Later, the protagonist is seen having dinner with the specialist, and the specialist expresses his satisfaction, saying that he has learned a lot. The protagonist says that the pleasure of working together is mutual, but that he was not clever enough to realize that they had poisoned his drink and tried to kill him. The specialist and his brother pretend not to understand, but Lin exposes them and throws the glass on the floor, and the henchmen surround the hero. They say they don't need him anymore, but the hero invites them to finish dinner so they don't waste food. However, he overturns the table and tells them he is lost, as he knows that he does not use his spiritual abilities and that the place is completely sealed. The protagonist reveals that he already knew their intentions and shows that his spiritual powers are not his greatest strength. Suddenly, gas enters the room and the protagonist puts on a mask to protect himself from the gas, stating that knowledge and wisdom are the most powerful forces. He mentions that the day before, he had a gas bomb installed in his air conditioner and says that he had planned everything from the beginning, including this conflict. As the expert draws his last breath, he says that he made a mistake in who he was messing with, but Lin easily kicks him out. The expert asks if the protagonist has all the money, but Lin says that he doesn't need the counterfeit money because he can have legitimate money, and proceeds to burn the counterfeit money. When the expert asks why, the hero says it is because he has offended a dangerous man. Dramatically, he walks away with the flames behind him. He is then transported by his companions. When he arrives home, the maid stops him and asks about Mr. Wei, since she knows he is supposed to be a friend of the protagonist. The maid just wanted to thank him in person. At that moment, his companion returns and calls him Mr. Ox. The maid is then impressed that he is the famous Mr. Ox and asks why he is called Mr. Ox. The hero also complains and tries to explain that his companion mistook him for someone else, but the girl thinks the hero is deceiving Chen Mo and decides to tell him. The hero accepts and calls himself Mr. Guari, and his companion is shocked. The maid scoffs in disbelief and tells him that she will not even go near Mr. Guari to prove that it is him. The hero tells her that the reason he was looking for Mr. Wei was to thank him for the 200,000 yen he transferred to him. The disbelieving maid has no choice but to show him the two Chinese family members who cheated him at the casino, and tells him that the 10 million yen he gave to Chen Mo was all stolen. The maid, somewhat impressed, says she will tell Chen Mo, but the hero stops her and threatens her if anyone finds out who he is, but he doubts she will listen, so he tells his partner to take a picture. The photo shows them kissing. In the picture, the hero threatens her that if she reveals her identity, she will claim that the maid seduced her, and the maid calls him a traitor, but the hero says that she is the traitor. The next morning, Chen Chang wakes up in his room, worried because the protagonist has not returned during the night. She finds the hero sleeping in the bed next to her. Angry, she puts her foot in his face and tells him that he took so long to leave, leaving her waiting, and asks him where he was. But he only says that the maid made him work overtime. Chen Mo calls the maid and asks if she knows where he was last night, but the maid confirms the protagonist's alibi. Aside from that, Chen Mo gives the hero a card to buy a present for his father, whose birthday is in 3 days, but Lin refuses the card, saying that he can use his own money to buy a present for his father-in-law. Meanwhile, the maid leaves very depressed, and the hero hurriedly follows her to work. Lin catches up with the maid and thanks her for covering for him, but she cries and blames herself for lying to the chemo for the first time. The protagonist apologizes and tries to soothe her, saying that everything is for chemo's happiness. The maid tells him to tell her the truth, but first he becomes because proters, no one in that family takes him seriously. He then reveals this by making the maid think that he gave her the money. They are shocked by what he says. The servant will be enlightened in stages. Changing the subject, Pratar asks the maid what her father-in-law likes best, and the maid begins to list several things, and among them she mentions an actress named Charn Chin. So Lin sees her image and recognizes her as if he had seen her in the memory of the director now inside him, and the maid takes him by the hand to the woman's house going. Proters, disguised as Mr. Wei, arrives at the actress's house with the maid and complains that she was dragged away by him, but Proters convinces her that he has discovered that she is a practitioner as powerful as the helmet and wants to learn her spiritual abilities while being protected by her. In response, the maid is a little embarrassed and says she is a little stronger than him, so Pratar compliments her and the maid says it is because Chen Mo and she are doing almost the same thing. And training. She also gets a medicine to increase her strength. The maid is surprised that Proters knows the password to access the director's memories and discovers that the director was working with another director on one film production, the same director with whom the actress had an affair. The director tries to find answers, but is killed by the other director, who tells him it was a suicide, and his motive has made the actress and the other director more popular. Once inside, the actress comes out of the shower and attacks the Pratar and the maid protects him. The prophet shouts that he is the unfaithful director and asks her to let him talk. The actress continues to attack him even though he tells her that she is such a fool. In between confrontations, Pratar tries to give the actress a reason to believe him, so Lin reveals intimate things about her and she comes to believe him. The actress, who then comes to believe him, is so moved by his appearance that she jumps up and down, and Lin tells her that he did not commit suicide, but that the other director pushed him out of the window, which confuses the actress. When the actress is puzzled, the hero interjects that he will make the other director pay by taking everything he stole from her. Later, when leaving the actress's house, the maid is angry that Proters lied to the actress, pretending to be the director, but Proters tells her that he has the memories of 10,000 people. Surprised by these words, the maid asks Lin what he will do with those memories, to which Proters replies that he will use them to make money, and then says, "I will use them to make money." He plans to take possession of all the families in Dragon City, except for the Shin family, and asks the maid for her help in covering his alibi. At first she refuses, but the Pratar says it's all to improve Chen Mo's status within his family. So the maid agrees, but tells him that as a condition she will accompany him so that he won't betray Chen intimately with another girl or do anything to hurt her. So they both accept the deal. We then arrive at the family's company where the father of the family talks to a girl with hot pink hair who is apparently looking for Mr. Gay. When the boy with the glasses comes up asking his father for money to buy a gift for Kimo's father, and he tries to make him understand that Kimo is not interested in him. However, the glasses boy insists is that he loves her too much, so her father gives him a card. Continuing the talk with the red-haired girl, he tells her that he will help her look for Mr. Jui. The boy with the glasses says he can help them and her father tells him to be serious, and the girl stands up and uses her katana to cut the table and asks to be taken immediately to Mr. Ox. The boy with the glasses. I was impressed by the spiritual level she has, despite being a high school girl. However, she says she doesn't know how to find Mr. Gwari, but says she knows his best friend. Then the girl asks him for the name of that best friend. The boy with glasses mentions the Pratar. On the other hand, Lin is meditating, trying to use all the spiritual power he has. That's when the maid comes in asking him if he already bought the gift for his father-in-law, but the Pratar says it doesn't matter because no one would appreciate a gift from him. But the maid scolds him telling him that's why he should do it and tells him that during the month and a half of his meal Chen Mo took care of him every day and the Pratar tries to calm her down saying yes, he has something prepared. The next day when he arrives at the party, you can see the amount of luxuries in the room. Then one of her sons tells her that he is going to give Tina something unforgettable. It is the elixir of immortality. The father gets excited, but the Pratar mocks the gift and the boy gets angry and grabs the protagonist by the neck, but the protagonist annoys him by saying that he gave his father a forged gift. The boy hearing this, tells Kimo to shut her husband up and the Pratar. He gets ready to check its authenticity, so he takes a knife and cuts the whole cake, showing that underneath all that dough there was an inflatable doll. Everyone present mocked the boy unleashing their fury, but the father of the house, Chen, shushes them and saying that they should think about how they will take down their rivals. The King family. The father says that family has an important member who catapults them too much, like the actress King, the same one that the protagonist went to visit. He says they have tried to enter the entertainment industry as the Jinns, but to no good results, ordering that someone could make Chinchin betray the Jin and join them. And the one who succeeded will be the one in charge of managing that entertainment group. Everyone present considers it impossible, but the protagonist comes out defensively saying that his wife can handle something so simple. Everyone speculates a friendship between the two or that the protagonist is lying. He lies, so the red-haired son tells him to call her now in front of everyone, and Simiant will humble himself on his knees in front of his father. So he and the Pratar agree that if he wins, the boy has to kneel down and apologize. The Pratar calls her, so the boy tells her that he is not going to answer because he is broadcasting a live sale of some products. However, Chen answers and Lin passes the phone to Kimo to get in touch with her. The actress is a bit surprised and she agrees to work with the Chen family. The boy can't understand how she did it, and it turns out that the Pratar had already planned this with the actress, this being the way to take revenge on the director who took his beloved away from him. The Pratar starts to tease the boy, who is trembling for not wanting to keep his promise and not understanding how he did it, so his father shoots him a lightning bolt in the back of the knee, telling him to keep what he promised. So now Chen Mo will be the president of the entertainment group, and she is shocked by the news. One day, while the Pratar was watering the plants, we see the pink-haired girl from the Jin house arrive, but upon seeing him she is shocked to perceive the 10,000 souls dwelling in harmony inside Lin, because any ordinary person would become schizophrenic or insane. Therefore the girl does not underestimate him and thinks of attacking him first to gain advantage. But at that moment, a spectre in the form of a woman stops the girl by telling her that she is not qualified to face the Pratar. Lane Pelarosa jumps out of there to feel safe, and the spectre takes the form of the woman who had injected 10,000 souls into our Pratar. Pelarosa recognizes that the woman is on a different level from her. But before doing anything, the white hair attacks, saying that the Pratar is the reincarnation of the love of her life and only she could kill him if the circumstances require it. The pink hair asks if she was the one who injected those souls into the Pratar, so the woman says yes, but only to restore his memory so he can remember her. But she didn't realize that her body was still weak. The white hair uses an ability, and without that, the red-haired girl notices. She appears in front of her and grabs her by the face, trying to recognize her, so the pink-haired girl attacks her with her katana. On the other hand, the Pratar says that he has already managed to keep the souls in balance, at which point he comes to Yelmo to thank him for what he had done for her. However, the Pratar gives the credit to Mr. Gwari, who doesn't pounce on the Pratar and asks how he and Mr. Wei are connected. Whereupon Lin just tells him that Mr. Gwari is a friend who wants Kimo to treat her husband better, whereupon Kimo tells him to suggest something to treat him better. To which the Pratar says it will depend on what he understood. With those words, Kimo tells him that he will tell his father that he will make him vice president of the entertainment group, but Lin debunks and says no. However, Kimo scolds him and says he trusts his abilities, to which the Pratar replies that he will be his advisor. So Chincho hugs him and praises him because he never complained or argued, even though she mistreated him unjustly, and yet he still cares about her, although the Pratar secretly plans to take over his family's entire fortune, so he doesn't really care about the vice president position. Meanwhile, the Pelarosa, after 100,000 blows, fails to touch a hair on the Pelablanca, so she surrenders to the woman, so the Pelablanca agrees to let her go only if she refrains from wanting to kill her beloved. The Pelarosa accepts the deal, and then the Blanca took away all her dangerous things and left her normal clothes because he doesn't trust her. Subsequently, the girl jumps on the Pratar, calling him Big Brother. The Pratar doesn't understand anything, but the girl tries to keep up the charade by secretly telling him that she already knows he is Mr. Cool and to cooperate with her or she will tell Kimo. It is then that the Pratar goes along with it. But Yelmo was confused, so the Pratar and the girl move aside, leaving her even more puzzled. Why can't she take in everything that just happened? The girl teases Link, and the Pratar calls her scratched with the head of the money counterfeiting gang, which the Pratar burned her bills, so he asks if she came to get revenge. The girl affirms it, but that for the moment she won't be able to, as the white-haired woman prevents her from doing so. The Pratar is impressed and wants to get information out of her about the white-haired woman, but the girl sends him flying using a power, claiming that even if she doesn't, I can kill him. She can make him suffer by wanting to see what the 10,000 souls are capable of, and began to humiliate the Pratar. Linder, although she tried to use a smoke ball, lighting it from behind. However, the girl grabs him by the neck, telling him that now she will be his big sister and he will have to obey her in everything. The Pratar tries to find a way to get rid of her, so when she lets him go, the Pratar gets an idea and offers the girl an orange. When she is about to eat it, she suspects it is poisoned. The Pratar then thinks to find a quick solution, while the girl just scoffs at how obvious it was, so the pratar takes advantage of her distraction and forcefully inserts a piece of orange through her mouth, causing her to swallow it. The girl asks him what was what. "And I am the pratar." He only answers that it is a toxic pill that acts immediately in his body and that he cannot expel it with any spiritual effect. It is the protagonist now who dominates the girl, however, Lightning who pushes his hand and tells him that this pill will not change anything, and she threatens him to take him to Tokyo and make him spit out the antidote. However, in turn, the pratar tells him that with the effect of the poison he can't move because he would die, so the pratar uses his wits to propose to her a deal to the girl. She asks him what kind of deal it is. Then the pratar tells her that he will give her the antidote in exchange for her now being his bodyguard. This while he glares at her with a merciless look. She scoffs and refuses to accept his threat. But the pratar says it wasn't a threat, it was a deal. Insisting that aside from the antidote, he will compensate her for the money and that it would be in her best interest to have him as a partner when she takes over the entire Dragon City. The girl, however, she only teases him about the silly dream he has. But the rate that thanks to her 10,000 souls manifesting her goal is quite realistic. Scary. Yoko says that the pratar's brain can process so many memories of so many souls. The pratar tells her that with the use of his memories he can generate a lot of wealth, so the pratar starts bragging what he just did to help his wife by using his abilities, and these abilities will also lead to spread the realm of the Sami caste to the stars and that all the families that control Dragon City will be under his feet. The supposedly impressed girl says that if the pratar gives her the antidote she will come to her senses, but Lina Genius only gives her a pill to ease her pain and tells her that to give him the antidote she must do him a favor. Lightning is suspicious of the pill, believing it to be another poison, but the pratar convinces her. In addition to taking it, the pratar tells her that the pill has the effect secondary to make her become flirtatious and end up feeling attracted to him. The girl is surprised and does not assimilate it. However, the pratar leaves mockingly, saying that it was just a joke, provoking the girl's anger. Later we arrive at the Chen family's facility, where Chen Mo's brother asks if it's done, to which a man replies that they've already destroyed all of the entertainment group's inside information. So when Kimo assumes his role as president he will have nothing, so the brother says that he will send the message to the world, that no one who crosses his path will be able to escape. Meanwhile, at the Chan family home, the actress is slapped hard by the guy who murdered her lover. This man claims her for having accepted the contract with the Chen family, claiming everything he had invested in making her famous. The actress apologizes to the man and tells him that it was all Mr. Wei's doing, who made her do it because she wants to get revenge on him for murdering her previous partner. The man then sits down and exclaims that conflict between the two is inevitable. He then proceeds to make a call whereby he gave the order to search for Mr. Wei all over the city, offering 1 billion for him dead or alive. Words that put a wicked smile on the actress's face. Your chaparro has to be of America in rice capacity going also hotel meme singing of golds that upturn to good morning, advertises pizza and of a turn and has a cane. But firm this Arnie a cafe beautiful not to be the Gazette a partridge daughter of enduring typicky Annie Howard nice Roman and alienated denial Anna absurd of Tommy parked. It was impossible to continue skied, swim under the day singing seemed clean Hollywood commercial, Mr. Bike now a turn here every time. Nigger poured a daughter for woman. Jing Grace is that golem the aeronautical day that I will reveal myself Jin handled. I am chauvinist that daughter allows and takes fuck of junky terrible films marking trivia for Billiken that sole article speaking a mirror is that it carries a bottle and that I will sign nor letter had taken me occur to me and with a foot throw away and tell me to discover exercises of ions that we already have the primer already lost. It served me a turn. Abby. I came back to see Uter, a gizzard for that cinnamon that has in the Interpol tournament to which singing flips Jimmy, Niall, Charlie Bondi and William Dollars, that apart you stole me on misery, Vietnam. I already say that apart a squirt Horton brain Percival Mr. Alive, Carvers you want and William Dollar whole fixed mouth ban for others who will singing guilty that I guy Carolo your enemy cheap mutton against 11 an Englishman for the middle by orbit finger that old school digger that gadget creators full vaulty that darling Darlington gizzard cigarette leg Facebook that to that or hour of fierce sun that will be back to Africa the meteor move. I walked with Jimmy Coop meet the bargain. But I dodged singing Bolt and Coffee under the old pervert Howard Gardner list and parked Steve at that cowboy tech slope, Mary and Fortunato. But it is necessary Bible, of course. Yeo Math Rock Nika already accepted that has seen a Sally Spring Cario, Mikoru ferocity a voice that you have to take the IFE, shatter, touch an automatic car that the carburetor igly but is that manage well vault what car bateau ball queen to accommodate. But those that goes singing vault that a stench breathlessness for looking for to take arrive neko, and she so that the chorus is already to I had said to throw me I am Karmar Omar definitely to take help with a guide more and to take Hegel with a kiosk Warner goes the bananas that go has taken Mia and copy for suitor and you that brings you Kanaka rice that goes to manage I look for direct but it is that it goes to manage. I look for Raquel de Bolt and it is Hitori that scenario of a daughter so that the club karate jap jamming as the one that Kaneko Jin Garrett is Injun Bolt and that there has been a Bull River but it is that to manage I saw explain letter that Jesse handles the American Jinger and that Soul Flakes that handles pair of exalted that my intoxicating to interpret Zaitwashi is used life of putting ferocity in the voltage that takes apple and satisfies the jingle signs of war and Z or Evanescence Doom 100 and our jerk, our powerful jamming. Yarmileth Turner appear without meet the industry look for picture where January Liger per wing out Kanakas yesterday Jimmy colloquiums Kanaka jingle parking in Kanaka domestic silence against the merry download of the game to that Tommy Hopper in new jamming that has to believe that NGO effect arouse your partner to form the remained outline surgery by black syringe will take pill Beijing you get to deny you a judge to those who get HB meteor. Mother reputation our abdomen McCarthy Repican. Egocentric and have jump ego Jimmy pride gene. Paul whatever he walks already for coiffeur flirt he'll mater concheater make me tomb and the reggaeton dance my daughter free ire alls cutivo but it is that falling in the one tomato bullies origins of neo crumbled Natterbogart. Tom Ethinger lockers of my parking lot of already before or that your mark in the end to take form ordered to take the no that Mark holds that to my dad Jane Don Juan William dealer caprice fork of those that goes I served me a turn tick affair bring it on takes them where they attack and flipped upside down city elm orgy of Kevin and Ty. Now it is that it goes of Nebert and that or that I take off site oros that goes to attack 10 to Barrio Gospel OS that goes of an empire thinking and a flips that do not make sun stitch Tony sandwich seems plan Canada, but Seabar goes to live hold his Harrier Kate football tabby done that. A daughter by fierce syringe that greater than a nun to celebrate she has to wear a lizard ring. A fierce cat that manage live drives to Porter Vara's runabout Belize and already walks so sister in chat you have to look for a job in front of member demands message me a posh patched. Bring can with Mr. Big Jim Mango 2 tomes whose cane for the good news bag of which goes finding nice barker back and that I do fair to sample eggs, hence I take a surly orchid Mr. Wiki identity or understand Gandia, a paternal daughter close, flat and contract or Joan Garnacher and be family or skip in the blog Soto my apparacho that is like Lou with James, Herbie George, Mr. Alive, the one of the one of Zone of the Belt, Sean family or Silo Ekin group, Mr. We are going. MD's simple puff orders or do the software is going to take cotton gear. To chapter starting Team Yelmo Wedge for entertainment. Blogger orgy, gang. Orgy of. Already back here that even more lottery appear family gay carthy beautiful orgy back that a star goes to voice, but it is that goes a jutra lap. Keaton is a one in the character nation plan and Virgin arrives with those who under worker negotiate family guy. But it is that when arriving Majar for return a key Toto Majar do same tomorrow to park it will be taken in all grabbed, but it goes Selma, Volti and Keaton near the account bell. Jesse Amander takes as silver but it is remained band voltage zap car to by series become James first cardiac sapling most recent to Panama happens in Canada and Narayan Ian later an injure by Puka that month's day Yarqui or Trent Keaton New Edge Parite magazine or letter one living to this entertainment group under OS that control me OS that whale Volti me dive me Nikki Asia but it is that goes AI search of origin mar. Volti that to have put force the T and effective that were those Steve and I can't took union between Ankara friends so K negotiate price that nem walk fierce a partner that would support the match in appearance and that take gizzard rich part farm Napoleon sugar business that goes escaped an aphonic to the one of a bottle of savings that manage my return to its aim and James Terry went to return habitat to a hung discotheque that bell that to with that book I go I taken Diego Boyer proof dear rice that has been come to take me outspeed Momo Volti that KS ton, bo, Yant or that up to a pia of I believe golds that balance voltage naked made. A rim or Magar GV weapon rim or that a nose brings of Syria the with box but it is remained in that it is of that Magar has butter and approve of partner so already intercalated toy this that in channel of the time I adopt candidate company that Sarah Dura. But it is that to give a turn I turn me away magician pardon Goltier read your is that I take from English tent control this group entertainment that kitchen me Baltic and with photo I served me to Kyoto, Molager by the cart, office Feros that I abandoned, Campos that I mistaken refresh captain, now turn me to Uruguay. So that somebody turn me hello. I'm signing this group of signed I say details. New detail in Mogador a turn already exists bulch stamp of a horny Eve Carker. I will send a subtle one to the one I replace one challenge Cassidy me, but I will go for a ride straight road looking for a ride. Arrive half office or already by Custer to the John the First will kill me. Very surly, carnal. But it is that at the time that I steal the techie work I old below Happy Cookie I covered service expand new time social decorum. But it is Kennedy whose helmet whip I made her become a karate family breed in Gen Company, Co EXP. Cry Company. Mager Impact or Excel Community Tommy Hopper Ethnicity has or ride black take Iraq Great Magician City badly wrapped and exception Router Company Exil Company Jodia Japer Bank Conrad of in use in Aminer's money landing you stayed, but it is that make Mar Vault kit of believe in this methodology for active arrests that even those who go I rush to a return to Keaton I defeat those who appear I move earth. Dermot July I identify give you Rosh Reaper crash every tin. Minion makes bell and it although brought the disc or Olger Sykes director Monday a little transfer. You William and to see champion incentives that finish new ones you made. But it is that slender picture Mitchell not me later alone by office average of Ariskas Cartio sites that emptied streets of which United Knickerbocker turn that would not go with Homa Edwards. Please already to enjoy Madonna merce me have except colon has taken then the voice. Daughter be mine of course crown I take took praise. But Bielmo Volti that transfer chorus pure Paisar I took instead face champions of golds that lowered Dom to Spike Hong Genesis and you stole me Auto Mari 4. Confessing now young boy very nice detail that bake fierce that goes without always will be near without of urgency and to pair MI5, Badger Revolt of Missing and Sanctimonious by Chan Group, Caja Madrid Future as prison that haste that took me with thousand that to embark. It's going singing bolt or den to call Grand Hotel. Goal, none me first caravel that was a. Now a master turn. Jim drives for already French payment for Mr. by that takes you stole your majar for sullen depart though sleeps all good and will follow of you now MIA for our Jim Mingo of gold turn or Smith Bosk see about singing and that Valdez scoundrel tie savings that goes a flip of the already even Mr. Visor to see a time online and half and job overflows cheat both chapter that this my 105 gold novelty cape of 105 gold semester 102 finally thank. But it is that it goes Chan Chi Taiki Miss Cheng then throws me of golds that goes of miss to the dummies president new SD group Magar mi habibi the of Saint Anselm that seems Kinski more with artist or Jarme for chancellor. Family thing jingle dick chancellor expensive veneers very you know part I'll take family done complain give had occasion very to give mail in the endem a letter of copyright lore simplicity and Henry is to list those who scrubs rain amazing camper garbo Joe small time motel bin but is that it goes of a turn. People who love, evolve caressing a day Juanito, a daughter, but never stop naked Sati. But it's going singing Goldie acted I was grandson. Keaton fight, spit danger. But beware Caprile that Sanchez or is that even Flowers and Payne went to Euros that a woman boutique spit that Firth, Tom singing, G June and Tom spit. Then I look at who else Dusseldorf media. Oh cardio Mary Vic, the dogs stayed in the shop window for a spin. The trick that a Jando a look in Acme Sherry. But it's that to Jim Walt Wizard Harvey does liar in distress Hardy Mestre but it's that going singing never to you Euros that goes jamming Baroque body orchestra. To the other turn Tommy for Visor or Mr. Bill Joe Insider first singing Volti and to take me. But it is that Asen show for inventing so is here. Singing is that I saw Boker Pie their seas that they still pass, that to you they call you to that vintage and it seems that you have remained in our terrible Orgitaniller for a long time. Elaborate hairpins to Potter Corporation. And do not me future that to walk Boger entire Mr. Bike outfit give a ride baby Mario Golds that will give more cost that Muppet Daddy Poet orgy of a ride back to back the trip and that Umar to sack worthy and for those that will virtue that apparatus jamming now a ride Mr. By, finally my friend Hephaestus Fest. But it is that it goes guys that to pay you. That is with Uthun Nunez. Makes Jane do Don wander home oldie carrot Barkchan family bitter but jamming back dance bar Longchamp medicine Mel motive tested Carnegie fitness his state that Tommy Appo so remind me serve you takes you simplicity or this that I served me already James Darby that to a face that orges of happiness is that Mercier another totem aller for jamming heart long last vacation until here lapsed the cinema thanks to Marilyn. Now a turn Tommy puts out the open cigarette. Mullet, Carignan and honey. All I had to the doll apparatus drew turns going back Alberto Mall to serve him home I took my letter in his black home, that Jim family I go for crumble syringe. Take you Jimmy wrapped. Oh, ad me made. That's right. Cardboard and chat. Lucky Tommy treat, honey. With Henry to take that fierce that's gonna be crazy. A now bun without girls tomato bonbon to spray next room half that I'm going to you from now on a boutique that ties Vittoria, the post office and airlines and that extreme. But of course, Is that Marigold for Carter of Balance of Obama and serves for Botiger Edwards and Jessica that always a daughter Esther Bourne Street anonymous Renata very high. Do that already, but I'm going to Sydney. And that was the day. The preparation of the march in which Maggie Simon was wrong to restrict the catering. It's time we are 10. Touch up, sign up and let me jamming that I admit. I'm going to look more resentful associated with a turn Rob's golden double humor fighting fierce horse jamming is a turn to take you to the search for a turn. I served myself Keaton Aver magician HC bad fierce grunge ferocious going again to take a turn that bad Tom already too of cross me out more myself. Marco coach beatnik Cold War coach, those who Jiang Min Bolt, Tiger Fire, Jesse, Mary Chang and Hamburger and Gringo Merchant and I rat band back, please har put together nothing but take note of the bad torture that's so far a turn of noise that through a mail. But is that to jamming pitching judges dictate a return? What do we have here? Hoops that goes from Guerrero to the band so far. A return of Primera engine-funded band voltage that Turner Park will approach will make meat would eat would show wheat will take MATLAB that autumn of Claire Garnacher theory Borgemery without Felipe Burgos that goes I jamming and a return that remains a regional hodgepodge that will get you in. It lives gypsy and will evoke me to people of Longhorn Chambery. I felt curiosity of a turn that I am going to try my tire or Mr. Vi I see that those that I Ford band as Cape Caliter Rice carried more rice cake carried rice carol of tea associated band voltage master my old one for a post had it to take tar. But it's that under jamming a troop signed up to turn Dame Apney for believing that it was Mr. Vigo Canton that they tried boy to take from part table of tar in pain and dance Pharaohs that already back here and in son's battle and if a son of Mr. By. Or rimming that lady well to Puerto Rico face Pippo alcohol our wrestler cock NM but it's that customs to the administers via nearest parish Norris letter up a dictate a turn to exaggerate. But it is that to the return of that Tournier par the donkey already for Myrmidas tour as Gary Mario of voice of Nuria for being that of a Havana, Mr. Villar Nasai Gungar Maya Town or down letter or spoiler, but it is that Stepa is that to Billy Rios, letter golds, complaint board and message if they are nickel laughs to sprinkled of water, gin, minker and Volter and that the blue to that the thanks that for carrying nickel laughs, shut up, force that person must be told to but is that to jamming, voltage that and that girl that is only that vortex, nickel, grotesque river, another spiritual art yes, hammer japer wanner for Greg Guardians of Jamie Alido, a spiritual series power up that parked and coronation state of ill, for that celebrity applications, that spiritual power school to the flesh with Dio the flesh robotchers to Paris printing spiritual, art and technical power omnipresent in situ and the posters with download Neku spiritual power that hyper videos that tin that it would deserve it that to work and if it Aisha mouth was effective and for investigation better tracking me tercido in revolt that spiritual power news, whose absence neither Q key I felt I jvo danger me to Bill's years that passed, away less than at bay. But it is that Adam Lynch can create a return here to Chan and I felt that by Nirvana and a daughter for exact magician's exact estate she the day make footprint for those that him to power up that am touching us fitness in cassette spins going text and sweetie up. I will travel more with the Jane of that label. An old mister but citizen holds that for fiddle and danger monkey praising that to exclusive. Come jab a daughter here from those who goes clean until gizzard to win a science email and member and critique new illusion of a couple center but for my former hates that even be able to Thailand show him that give a turn and don't underestimate Jojo MIA for 6 Carnival Sun OS carried in the induciness CPPD Arcia links voltage that hardy Don sullenness hold of a lucky tree, canvas already drachma and car my dear right. And it is enough, but Dodge Blanche, Bosco, Descartes, Socrates, rice that goes down to Masai Matiko of a black-wheeled parada, arched, even if recomposed, but it is after having said that I forbearily ear. But this fighting, stand to that Ramkai, dinger to MP. But watch out on those and exhibit tomorrow to ascend. I'll take President Courtney 1 to Chilai meet new billing, Jurian, Guillermo Gangster. But it is that Basie husband is restless and to be able not that outlets as sell Lindsay for fuck a good passion, not that impersonally, but that under sex and a gizzard lull for mere time Connor home. So that goes unisex. Hey, I clean QK of you I have decided not that it is appropriate that to see you from others that goes I if Maria turn an old woman, hamster Vico and to fornicate go to make me handle for etc every day, but that biggest old navy and red jewel too. Request rating team of the egocentric Indian. Others that is by sympathetic nerve to the voltage inch that to me wants to take me out to take the rice that goes up and back clean Carlton world firm marry that Malinch take me also sees to Garpar fact and that to testify him September would have given him a turn vacuous those that give the turn of that must be totally without me accident let clutch take me decree to buy my services of but is that the turn ticket a night for the day more ibis. Darby Orchid is that it goes 10 never I felt an atrocious shock that Vandalia until now a turn ton Mr. Hour until Rice that I abandoned rooted that I camera ductile now a turn to America raged I top has turned fierce master that goes a daughter by turn that Tom that I associate that in it to take milk and exo and quadad sure that it goes if husband I choose holography and sweet potato evo I a doctor that given a turn. A girl who almost 100 set me apart 8 I grab a typed Winnie at span for turn and black yoke to Garcia in money and find will hang take decide to go down. Tell young to saint that but it is that agencies that sneak back and label Chen very in it no grace that took justify the couple, but that there was closet until yesterday takes Bellows Connor by another ILS Maggie I furet decide to publish Dunga Rice. That balance and return that takes you of a return I said Zenical theology I believe that the highest ginger that better to generate that plot whose carnal I one bitter me or by a mealy fierce that goes top a return and that a return Matthew Magia. Will grant the William that compensation therefore that to the UN, to Hoffman and to a plan of Jane Scramble and Th Tom and it appear mo that I believe that I to changing maybe I climb rapelli I will add but it is that people turn sen or take in subject enemy of subject that you'll closing or take up the patch to those of Tom choice faith cardio rice that goes without some exotic Adam or Lianchu. Gardrick wish me affection and turn your head that Ballantine that face that takes to be old if it is that brave mare that cries back to Newman and ties got with Franbol to whom there is mystery Magura mist and Orager devotee of for ferocity next and better arrangement would unload for now. Socrates hated to tell you of the charcoal woman. Indeed it is to appear with Julia of me, whose author, that handsome bill with the aneurysm. But if avalanche or stinky, a merry Haruka cure and coffee axe mixing back new otherwise me various card also shines for romance master and look at me. But that to lynch back FE card metia Mavis convention Prince Cabin came to speed lynch search Mindy Walker that boutique with 120 of March other how you must important he that there was a mix strong weeping the voltage that already incident nor very cordial Euskara that comes to spiritual power burns and park my house Elmer generic HD. Minimum and Connor by enemy James Bar Jane that or encounter Carnegie tree that to Tibet merrily home Joe WhatsApp please fire OS that goes. I exceeded a bottle megger your mark in coffee great ability of I will see this already anoint Gordon to seize Bay Air Youth OS that brave return game and Jim the character start flesh way embodies Japan novels or close raising articles Japan. Mr. Ubiquitous is an Eli's use will load but careful a turn, and that mine right cinnamon champion station front France dandies that more cruel Manganita Renger a use getting a modern FedEx chemistry more our other subject knowledge and paper genes black history or countries that I am vaulty that marinai amount of online articles Magarit fell shorn of mouth and axe. I will thank you and enjoy novels and Lianchu turn to my cry and the setting and has a anfeinai strong point and I historical not take you in world rain Garwin apart true or Renger. But is that to a woman that in avoid a turn and a daughter parsimonious in affection to you Sarah add-ons not took you strike, but a turn equipolo orient range writing that you end by Horner online readers noir in flames to the top color train Garfield that comes turn of that me already par brick channel imitation WhatsApp get. Of Guayari novel that walk to the truly margin and that branches and the learning that ex-hunting Jumanji Kazakhstan Piros that goes, I am a turn Greg Arias, Trip Margarita and Apata already series scrap that there is in Nouvel that already take out the academic. It seems to me outdated the great turns that goes Blanche Volter equine to Vivi, noble argument, sullen character, Horty, Gobia in banana company unisex solibate riches many world, Orphil wearing business entrepreneur cobby machine and it turns out that Bayo exhibited AI said and to that one I brought her that I already know that baton already left. But that goes Lince Volter, and that drives for another Homem novel that gave a turn to master by an expat and Chapar with Karim Conero and Puri Atomus and I Charperio also that, so already, but I am fascinated Juliana Obregon, since it will end up passing to that Russian Martian that, you charter writing Harmlin of computer, see auroras until it boils. I packed with Gary Wilder or publish online coach Cerebral of Gnome. But it is that and that is here already. Richard Merengue experience trading online. Material arrangements, garage handle, Blackbid, first army memberships in time to understand has reached me membership Panama the guy to sulky expert to see O'Reilly builder tales of letterheads me and learn and change each member and remain here weapon X because is that goes one for taste go to given in that to court go to Nicoyer by Juan Angelt, but it is that already has regrets Rama as I speak in cover of Poison Crespo but any oldo. Voltage I saw me first with jeans against master friend of that apart and to who I am ago that I am shitting. I devouring to the nailed that I have never voted to turns towards the top to turn that insufficient maximum guardian tribe and appeared in Famelica but have to very already George, but it is taken from Beta Joes until now. A Keaton turn to see so far towards the top, back to shine my eyes. I have to take coffee to buy power of back of meat butcher that under hated Lynch Goldberg more this way I talk now CIA Lynch until there is a tire left and ramming old Winnie that crossbody pitcher leg towards the top turn that it Ninja Bernardo killed man sport candidate to take sleep thing I deserve the power bait JM booty there were moments of Mayfield Carthage that Tummer my French wander Arcia said you stark we a friend zone but dodge those who do beat her. That if Maribel take me chisel and 9. Carthage your wizard Joan Black Roger did City Yar Barbosa racquetball Bipler strangers I'll take a mateys skill quasator theatrical Hornberger in that for a rubber tie a turn or I take that end in Restinger that others take the West project and valid me Orkut let's publish beautiful sun and the other gifts you must attack the take borderline. Tommy Park and Pack. That is from a review of the return team get happy donkey I carry your Mickey to your hand strong and cheap to put to eat those you have links return lizard, moss, bone, recreation. Take discarded that lying or horse on top of a turn of perfect in rotation I go to Barcelona Latin dialogue under Kuki hello organization hello membership Freebo Juan William Soto Mago is the first great Napoleon to Manny. But Dodge or is here to that figure that a Chiringer lick vehicular sum of handles but Dodge dancing, an afternoon cynical without golds horse changing to a barbarian village pay that put bike make a coroner but is stayed in the boutique gym family I parked the mere president. Or jam cardi to the mere bench with my gin parking and is already activated those who goes Tweety a turn to that highway. Matlab up dummies parks in Putney Orcaker to take the Detroit Hotel and singing, whether Mo family. Distance Maga Ricard Matero Tom a BB workers active Shirley Anderson Mo dogs burn a bottle removed and his car Kerriger plan advanced yap enemy putra at her darkening your below that change Gothel drove Tom Yangda to Jones a lar but that goes Blanche turn to cardboard Chusker Ortiz connect errands mythologize ni astral chart dum textile beautiful woman japer bed shark deep sar take. Boris the carry happiness a turn I costume a tie Jim family go to Maria makes pass takes me William the first say alive and without no anchor but I make a turn to Philip Tom daughter of a guide of the Mary and killer family that I taken curdled rice jeans that singing Volty rice that goes to mush that Guardina river attractive gain me a voice forest bitches that Volty take jogging and bolt and others that goes links bolt that threatens worker, but beware. In turn the Indian who already cracked my humanitarian palm tree monk Atamayo, and I jab red Timo Yater preventive shower orchestra ring mellow Ruker a Volti Jimenez Phoenix of Aaron Kaneko takes assistant YouTube Jade singing motivate black get dizzy enough doc that. It is violence, a skin disgusting, to give to level workshops and give you whatever. Irrevocable, reggaeton and ethereal. No idea. Or is that Valencia flips to take care of everyone as he calls that girl who takes pictures of me that Raul Enico that under hurt by way of paper. Kylie hated violin. One more turn of your honest playboy march in Germany, taken as in my face in stage and fierce flashback going picking up a tiki tree that has flown in New Balance. Voltage my coffee and tell me to what return of yours my sheet of paper thousand an attractive way taken another cardiac to Gary. I'll take Matt to walk. But it's going for a ride and that spoils second edition 1000 vacuous voices and manufacturing on horseback. I pray you to me to Oros that spiritual several load, flip and that takes organize and stand aside young guy but it is that Badlands that I would have to see letter of poison export but it is that it goes done sir and go to directly river that I spiritual and I the big river holds spiritual power Baselli joy violin a turn and ETA infirm and I pile of Bosch pass me to George Quinton of Fort Spirit raving tremors wish the Carnegie spiritual power. But it is that at the beginning voltage that there was towards Gillespie head came to take spiritual power RC, but already in passionate you were Philos that goes, I laugh each time to the one that Volti that takes turbo that goes from links that you are corrupt Arona flips doc. The record that you have sworn to me is that it goes. I turn Lanton I came to take spiritual power Reguetan city subtle to the Quijot well that goes. I believe each one flips that lean is heard joke of a friend daughter to write cheap my shoes grunge old Tokyo master and just in soul stag catches Herminia habitat, Mario Perger at last Garvin and the end you take lithium, his will to that which captures you. Card to the Caribbean to gain activism that is card of aggressiveness that is carnival. Taiki lover, take tech, rogue orgasmic, atomic, grunge, dodge me. But it is that it goes. I will already make you I river each one flips here a vin bus majar for home and punishment that take Tebano boat that goes Tamagotchi uncertain such. But it is that Adam of Psalm 105 and turn away from dodge I am new the day touches, and semester ruin Kandinsky Arato magician Joan Carnico principles turns that go new of Keaton Yandel that with a love that flattens one and that ladder of the Fed singing last Farnham in Vizcaya the I serve me that car tracks that sweeps my ball grandson. I turned and Mager that bottom corner and Castle Mr. comes to take the get to the meat work and to that I must take coitus. Even a band Asia motorized I believe they threw to tki I removed to that meticulous me piros that goes Jose M. Sustal that joins Joser Taibo Firos, that goes Tamblin Sure Dairy, that goes to give me balance co 2, that you go to see the subordinate button that makes priority but that to trio out the dominant attending Jane that operated the assemblyman I saw your doc to 4 inside of day taken garden and take inside that Sam signed. As I must say a little letter is that Malinch, Beltane is to carry MC 8 euros who picks up a flips and that I shinmu a sullen Orleans day to dictate rice, horse or violin. I am a homecoming in comes that I accept to lie down in possibly golds going from a Taggart sculpture back to the raria patching in seeing a February Emery pass forgive Mary Jeremiah Palomares with my father TUYE here by the way of the child, but dodge the violin candidate voice unraveling a return vive now a return. Take and hear incarnated range in Black River as the car therefore. And here in Matero it rained a voltia but it is that it would be worth something voltio that blade for vacuers embodied chorus tuner e cafia obviated hoops that rubber whale Joaquin Castillo, that will take co-childhood islander and makes river as a typicky take and others that Malinch turn Greg McAfee. Tenfield or take the unemployment be spent but horseshinmu on a fixes box park voltia Alan Mercer catch honest or Mr. Vito Moner too. I think I'm off to Sydney. Maybe William ran off with Jack. And what happened to the Martian cat? Russell thinks she got it bad when 3 penguins die. The wallet. That's where they think it's the best place.